Yo, YouTube. Just got home. Work didn't go too long today, but it was I don't know, it was a rough one just coming off the weekend. But we here now. We made it. We blessed to be home. But today, I just wanted to pay homage to a civil rights icon, Malcolm X, somebody who I looked up to and look up to today. We might not agree with everything he believed in terms of theology, but somebody who definitely stood on business as far as what the young kids say today. But yeah, I want to just talk about Malcolm X, the way he carried himself, and just some things that could have been done differently in terms of him working with other civil rights leaders of that era, and just some stuff that I think we as Black people, and more so we as just people today, can can do today just to make this world better for each other. So y'all stay tuned. Yeah, guys. So, like I said, the focus of this video today will be Malcolm X, and just not so much the theology of what he believed in terms of the Nation of Islam, but just his personality and just kind of the way he moved back in those times and how he dealt with other people who weren't of color, white people of that time, and just the discipline he moved with, and the things, the way he led his life in terms of how he ate, how he spoke, how he carried himself. And yeah, so I just want to give a little, give flowers to Malcolm X. Like, Malcolm X was so big in our household, if I'm just being honest, just because of the Spike Lee biopic that was done with him doing that movie, and Denzel Washington playing Malcolm X. Like, I watched that movie countless times as a kid, and as a teenager growing up in my household. And that movie just sparked, intrigue into Malcolm X, the man. And that movie led me to just do research about his life, learn stuff about him, just because I was just so enamored with the man who he was. Like, he started out his life, rocky in Nebraska. Well, he had came from a good family. If his father was a preacher, his mom, he had a lot of siblings, but then unfortunately, his dad was murdered, and the toll that it took on his mom kind of drove his mom, to go through some mental health issues. So eventually he was taken away from his mom, and, moved away from his home, and got into trouble, was robbing people, was just living a life that was not acceptable or pleasing to anybody, especially his parents. So ended up going to jail. In jail, converted to Islam. When he got out, became a member of the Nation of Islam, and eventually became the speaker for the nation, and was gave sermons and talks, just teaching, the teachings of Islam and of Elijah Muhammad. Eventually there was a fallout between him and the Nation of Islam. He ended up exposing, things about Elijah Muhammad and his doings personally, which eventually, in my opinion, led to him getting assassinated. And it was just unfortunate. But I think what I looked up to the most with Malcolm X, and that's why I have him on the wall right now. Just, I think you got to applaud somebody who makes efforts to turn their life around. And to go to jail, to be living a certain way, and to know that this isn't it, and to to take steps to make a change, like you gotta applaud that. And he was able to do that, converted to the Nation of Islam, and just, I'm not a Muslim man, but I do applaud the attention they give to just living a clean life, like not eating pork, making sure they look presentable, having a brotherhood. And I think that's something that definitely needs to be instituted, not just in a religious circle, but just period, especially in the black community, like just brotherhood and everybody looking out for the next man and everybody being accountable for the next man. So that was definitely something I applauded from Malcolm X. But another thing I applauded from Malcolm X, and this is one thing that I live by to this day, and I mean it, is like Malcolm X did not allow people to play with him. When he came to do a speech, he meant business. When it came to his family, he meant business. When it came to thinking about what's best for black people and to see us progress in the nation at the time, he meant business. And he was willing to do and say whatever he had to do for the struggle of what black people were going through during that time. Fortunately for me, in the time that I live in, we as black people do have certain rights, and we have certain opportunity that just was not a thing back then, for lack of a better words. But because of people like him, other civil rights leaders, and other people in that movement, we were granted rights. So the way I try to go about life, certain stuff I don't play with. Like, you're not gonna disrespect my family. You're not gonna disrespect my wife, my kids, nobody. Like, I don't play about that. I don't care who you are. I've had just recently, stuff go on where even other family members thought they could say certain things about my family and my house, and I didn't go for it. Like, you're not gonna play with my family. Like, period. If anybody thinks they can come and put their hands on my family, that's a problem. And I'm not a violent person. I don't push violence or anything like that. But I stand 10 toes down for my family, and I'm gonna protect them regardless. So that was one thing I truly admired about Malcolm X. Like, when he walked in the room, he demanded a certain respect. And I feel like us as black men today, in terms of the overall community of black men, I don't think that's a thing anymore, to be honest. Now, definitely some black men for sure have that. They can walk in the room, demand respect from others. But Malcolm X did that. And I think that was one disagreement I had with Martin Luther King Jr. As I got of age and started to do more research about Martin Luther King, I'm gonna say this: I applaud the man for what he did for the movement and the stances he took and the actions that he did to try to make it better for black people and people of color in this community. But in terms of like certain marches where police thought that thought they did, do harm to women, children, and other people of the movement, that's just not something I think Malcolm X wouldn't have went for. And if I'm trying to put myself back in that time, I know it was different. It's no way I'm gonna allow my wife to go somewhere where I know harm could be done to her. Period. There's no way that I could send my kids to a school and I know potential harm can come their way. Like, I'm gonna cause a problem, and I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do to protect them so they don't have to go through that. So like, that was one knock against, I don't know, the civil rights movement in terms of Martin Luther King, the fact that He was trying to make change, and he did make change. But the fact that he marched, and because of results, some of those marches, people getting hurt, innocent women and children, and the fact that he couldn't say like, "Hey, you might not want to come. Like, this might not be the best place for you because this could get dangerous and harm could come your way, and I can't have that on my conscience, seeing you get hurt." Like Malcolm X would have never allowed that to happen. When the Fruit of Islam, who was basically the security, when they went out somewhere and they went deep, they didn't have older women with them. They didn't have children with them. It was men with them, and they was ready to get down because they believed what they believed in, what they stood for, and their principles. And I don't know, like I can't understand how Martin Luther King thought that was okay. Like, I get you want to make change, but I didn't see his wife out there marching and getting hit in the head with a billy stick. Don't get me wrong, shout outs to Coretta Scott King, but I didn't see Martin Luther King having his kids out there, getting hit with water hoses and getting bit by dogs. So it's like I try to look at everybody like that. Like, I'm not gonna bring you along with me, and I know harm can come your way. Like, I can't do that. And that was just something with the vibe I got from Malcolm X when he I don't know, when he went somewhere and he knew it was gonna be a problem, he had men with him that he knew would stand like him, and knew if it was gonna get out of hand, they knew they could protect themselves and nobody was gonna make it home hurt. And that is one thing I respected about Malcolm X. Like, period. Again, I respected the discipline of this man in terms of the diet of the Nation of Islam and just some Muslims, period. Like, Elijah Muhammad had the book Eat to Live. Like, I respect that because as black people, like, our health isn't the best overall. Like, we heart attacks, high cholesterol, diabetes run rampant in our community. And with Malcolm X and just that whole movement, like Eat to Live, was a real thing. So I applauded just that discipline, because it takes discipline to maintain a healthy diet on a regular, and that be everyday life. I don't mean 1 out of 7 days you eating a salad. I mean every day I'm putting stuff in my body that's gonna help me live and get to the next day and be my best self. So I applauded those things with Malcolm X and just that sense of masculinity. I think that's one reason why today is the way it is, especially in the black church. Like, you see some of the foolishness that's going on in the black church, and I feel like masculine, godly men who are in the church, if they see some of that, will be like, no, I'm not coming back here with my family. I'm not putting up with this stuff. And I feel like that's the reason the church is the way it is, because you don't have certain men in the church to stand up and be like, no, we're not tolerating this. Like, I'm not bringing my family back to this. That's why a lot of foolishness is able to go on in the church the way it is now, in my opinion. And I feel like the way Malcolm X moved, like, with that mindset, I feel like certain stuff just wouldn't fly. Now, where I disagree with Malcolm X is, I feel like him and the NOI and other black organizations who were trying to make change in terms of civil rights should have all came together and sat down and tried to come up with solutions to help. Because it's good, each organization has something to bring to the table. For example, let's say I live in a house and I have 3 roommates I live with on one floor, and we all necessarily don't get along. We don't hate each other, but there are certain differences among us to where we don't see eye to eye all the time. Let's say that building caught on fire. I think we all gonna work together to try to get out of the building safely. And I feel like with that analogy, the NOI, the Southern Leadership Conference, just the Black Panther Party. I feel like those groups should have done a better job of putting their differences down and coming together as Black people and to figure out solutions that's going to push our communities forward. And I feel like even just on a bigger scale, people today, regardless of ethnic group, need to come together and see that the house is burning when it comes to certain issues and work together to get us out safely and to live better. And I feel like today, man, that shit's not happening, man. We so caught up in what skin color you are, what you believe in. Now, don't get me wrong, what you believe in terms of theology is very important. But there are times when that stuff can be put down for 2 seconds just to come together and work to make solutions that all of us can prosper from. And that was one thing I didn't agree with Malcolm X, like him not trying to come together with Martin Luther King and those two movements and figure out ways to put their heads together and come together to try to make change. And I feel like that would have been just good for the Black community to see. Okay, this is two entities. They both got power. They both got a voice, but we know they don't like each other. But they willing to come together and work together to help both sides. Because at the end of the day, we all one. And at the really end of the day, we are all one, regardless of color. But just back in that time, just with what Blacks was going through, it would have been a very beautiful thing to see those two come together and work together. Like I know they came together to take that one photo, but it's a photo, man. They both were smart people, but I don't know. It would have been cool to see that dynamic between those two. But all in all, man, I respect Malcolm X just for his being able to transform his life, being able to live a disciplined life, and being able to not put up with BS from people. And that's what I'm trying to do with my life now, man. Like I'm a Christian man, so I try to stay disciplined and let that be the guiding force of my life. I try to keep myself in shape and be here for my kids at the end of the day because I want to be here and be healthy and be able to be active with them. And like, you're not going to play with my family. Like, period. If you think you can play with my family, you have to deal with me. Like I said, I don't condone violence, but that's something I don't take lightly. And I salute Malcolm X just for what he did for the movement. It would have been a beautiful thing to see Malcolm X convert to Christianity. And you never know, maybe he, did in his, before his dying days. But I can have some discernment and take his life and pick out the good things and apply it to my life and live accordingly. So, and I think this world definitely would be a better place if we had more men, especially in the Black community, who had the same mindset as Malcolm X. Because a lot of this foolishness that's going on today just would not be a thing. And people will be held accountable. The youth will be held accountable, and a standard will be set amongst the youth in the Black community. And I think that's one thing that's lacking. But yeah, shout out to Malcolm X. Rest in peace. Condolences to his family and best of luck to his family. Pushing that name forward. And I also want to say I had a situation that happened today at work, and it was a teaching moment. Like I was turning in my stuff because I was done with my day, and one of the young ladies at my job asked me, did I go see a certain movie, and I said I did go see it. And I made a comment about the movie jokingly, but when I left the office, I also realized, man, that could have potentially offended the lady who works in the office. So I made sure to reach out to her and apologize. Like I said, I live a certain lifestyle and I have certain beliefs, and I'm definitely not going to condone any type of lifestyle. That's just the honest truth. But at the same time, I do not want to walk around offending people just because I have a certain mindset. And I'm aware of that. And once it dawned on me, oh, damn, I could have potentially offended her. I reached out and been like, my bad. Like, I ain't mean nothing by it. And if you felt anything about it, like, biggest apologies. Like, I don't want to mess up your work environment. So, like, my bad again. And that was like a real teaching moment. And I didn't feel too big to do that or too sanctified to do that. And I think that's a lesson that more people should, take to heart in this world. Yeah, you can, live a certain way and not believe in certain things, but that doesn't give you the right to just walk around offending people. Even if you ignorantly do it or you innocently just told a joke that you didn't think anything of, but you found out that joke did offend somebody, you should take those 2 seconds to reach out and be like, my bad. Like, that wasn't my intent. Especially you walk around saying you a Christian and you just talking down to certain communities. Like, yeah, you shouldn't condone certain things in this world in terms of lifestyles, but that don't give you a license to walk around and bad mouthing people. That's why it's hard for me to watch some Christian content creators and just some people who claim to be Christian, but just say the most foul stuff about people who not like them and think it's okay because they Christian. Like, no. If you Christian, get your point across, be firm, but also have a heart and have a sense of what's the word I'm looking for? Just realize that, okay, this person does have feelings. Yeah, they probably don't believe what I believe in. Yeah, they may be a little different in terms of how they live their life, but I'm not going to offend you. Especially if as we as Christians are taught to, spread the gospel. What if that person don't believe in Jesus at all, and a so-called Jesus believing person walks in and offends them and laughs at them? You think that's going to make them want to come to church? Probably not. So yeah, like, I feel like we as Christians, if we be better with that, man, we can start to see more change and more conversion in terms of just other people in society. But that's all I got for y'all today, man. Please go check out the interview I did with David Lopez, my guy D'Lo, former basketball player at Concordia University. We played at the same school. Now he's a rapper. I was able I was able to interview him, promote the album. The album is dope. Cafecito. You can get it on iTunes. Man, go check him out. Solid brother, good dude. Check out the interview. And I'm planning on having more coming soon, man. So I'm just trying to stay active, be consistent with the content, keep growing the channel, man. Slowly but surely. And that's something I've had to learn with this YouTube journey. Yeah, like, I might not get thousands of subscribers each day, but if I can get, a few each day and just stay consistent with what I'm doing, I think that's going to lead me on an upward trajectory. But I love y'all. Probably going to go upstairs and cook dinner, man. Y'all take it easy and just keep tapping in with me. I appreciate it.